Good afternoon, this is your Sunday tropical weather update from 20gatestorms.com. The main action continues to be over the central and eastern Atlantic, where we are still monitoring multiple tropical disturbances, and the Hurricane Center is giving two of those a 10 and 20% chance of development within 2 days, respectively. On the latest visible, there is nothing organizing in the Gulf, Caribbean, or Western Atlantic, but we can quite clearly see that 99L Invest is struggling due to a lot of westerly wind shear. It does look like it has a weak low-level circulation, but it is currently exposed to the west of all of the significant convection associated with it, and the tropical disturbance just appears to be a little bit too far north for any development. We have a lot of westerly wind shear in association with this upper-level low to the north, and so therefore we're not expecting any development from 99L Invest. If any system has a somewhat decent chance of development, it could be 98 Invest, located a little bit more toward the south, but even down there it looks like the wind shear has increased, at least to some extent, compared to just 24 hours ago. In addition, we still have a series of tropical waves exiting the coast of Africa, so the activity could continue for an extended period of time to the south of the Cape Verde Islands. But the good news is that any development from these tropical waves currently exiting the coast is more than likely going to result in a recurving storm, as indicated by much of the model guidance. And before we review some of the latest model data, I still want to show the broad area of low pressure here in the eastern Pacific. The Hurricane Center is not monitoring this for tropical development, or at least they're not outlining it in their latest tropical weather outlook just yet, but it still looks as though that this broad area of low pressure will steadily come together. And over the next 3 to 4 days, I do expect that this is going to organize into the next classified tropical cyclone out here in the eastern Pacific Basin. The upper level conditions do appear to be gradually becoming a little bit more favorable over time. Turning to the latest 12Z run of the CMC model, you'll first note that this is the broad area of low pressure in the eastern Pacific. This is 99L Invest, which is going to quickly dissipate, and this is 98 Invest. And of course, we still have more energy exiting the coast of Africa. So if we set this into motion, you'll see that 99L is going to fall apart fairly soon, but 98 will be a little bit more resilient, and it's actually going to make it into the Caribbean based on this run. So that is still going to be something to monitor. Also notice that it does slowly develop the eastern Pacific broad low, but it keeps it off of the Mexican coast throughout the forecast period. And some of that additional energy coming off the coast of Africa is forecast to develop, but quickly begin recurving out to sea. Thankfully, we do have some model support or consistency. This is now the 12Z run of the GFS, and much like the CMC, we do begin to have some gradual development, and the storm stays to the south of Mexico. And by the end of the forecast period, what is left of 98L Invest is forecast to be over the central Caribbean, but not quite a named storm, so that's fairly good. It keeps all of our disturbances fairly weak, and in fact anything that is forecast to actually develop out here in the Atlantic Basin is expected to remain confined to the eastern Atlantic and then be more than likely a recurving type situation. And finally, this is the 12Z run from the ECMWF model, and it quite clearly develops that eastern Pacific storm, but it also keeps it to the south of Mexico, so I would like to keep your focus on much of what is occurring in the central Atlantic. And unlike the other models, by day 3, it's actually strengthening 98L Invest a little bit more so than the CMC and GFS. By day 4, it looks like it's actually developing this into a tropical depression or possibly even a tropical storm. And by day 5, 6, and 7, it actually develops the system so abruptly that it almost develops too fast and is therefore more prone to recurving into the westerlies aloft, and therefore it avoids much of the Caribbean, and in fact it's recurving to the east of the Lesser Antilles. Also notice by day 8, any storm out here in the eastern Atlantic is expected to be more than out of the picture, with any weak systems also recurving, and by day 9 and day 10, this is 98L Invest being absorbed by a trough, so it's in the process of recurving while dissipating, and much of the basin remains quiet with only a broad 1009 millibar low to the south of Cuba. So Tropical Storm Hillary is still likely to develop in the eastern Pacific, but should remain to the south of Mexico. We have a lot of marginal tropical disturbances in the central Atlantic. There only appears to be one that could possibly get into the Caribbean, and so far, even if it does go into the Caribbean, it looks like it's going to be rather weak. So we're looking good out there on this Sunday afternoon. Please check by at 28storms.com tomorrow afternoon for another video update.